derby weekend then, Mark. I mean, how much do you look forward to these fixtures?
Yeah, very much so. The Welsh derbies are one of the first fixtures that you target when it comes out in pre-season. So it's exciting. We've had to wait a little bit longer than usual. We had one obviously first up last year, so we've waited a little bit longer than usual, but very excited to get out there again and get it stuck into what will be a exciting game, I'm sure.
There's a bit of a mixed bag of results in the first block. How important is it that you finish with a win now going into the international break?
Yeah, look, it's professional sport, so it's always important to get wins. Of course it is, particularly if you're trying to, get into playoffs at the end of the year. You want to try and accumulate as many wins as early as you can. But also we're aware we've played against, 3 of last year's top 4 teams, and two of those games have been away from home. So, it's been a difficult start on paper, but I thought our performances in probably 3.5 games have been pretty strong in lots of areas. Clearly some work-ons for us, but I think far more positive than negative. And like you say, if we were to get a result this week, which will be very difficult, it would certainly it'd be a decent start to the season, I think.
How is the shape of the squad looking? Any injuries, any concerns?
Yeah, I think we've still got a few on the long-term injured list. The Morgan Morrises of this world are going to be a few more weeks yet, and this autumn break will help. Get those guys, back to being closer to selection. But we've been fortunate enough, as I've mentioned in previous interviews, the Jack Morgans and the Ryan Smiths, and these guys are, training more regularly, and they've trained again, this week again with more minutes and more intensity. So that's positive. And we've got a little bit of an injury problem in the midfield at the moment, and we've got a few boys there, that are going to be back around it in the not too distant future, but probably won't come back into selection contention this week just yet.
I'm guessing that Ryan is probably going to be in contention, considering he's up next. What about Jack? Will he play this weekend? Yeah,
they've taken part in big chunks of training this week. So what we're going to do now after today's session is we'll sort of assess where they've got to, how they're feeling, and make some calls then around selection of whether we think they're ready to go, and if they are, whether that's starting or coming off the bench, etc. So we'll try and work out what's best for them, or if we think it's better to leave it until the next block. So we just need to assess after today's training to make a bit more of an informed decision, but we'd hope to have them available this week if all being well.
Do you have conversations with Steve Tandy surrounding Jack? Obviously Tandy would probably like him to have a bit of game time going into the autumn, but then you want to protect your asset as well.
Yeah, look, he's Welsh Rugby's asset, and he's our captain, and he did an awful big shift for us last year around his playing games and his minutes, and obviously went on a very, very long tour. A lot of travelling, so we've really tried to look after him as a region in terms of giving him time off. Really tried to keep him out of travelling to South Africa, and having to put more air miles on his account, just so he can be around his friends and family and sort of spend a bit of quality time with people and get his training done here, as opposed to jetting around the world. So we're hoping that's going to pay us back in the long run at the back end of the season, and he'll be feeling fresher and fitter, but it does mean that he's probably a little bit short of game time than he would have liked going into the autumn block.
So would you, if he is fit, would you give him any minutes this weekend?
Yeah, if he's available from a medical perspective, we definitely like to include him in the match squad. He's bussed into play. We obviously would be delighted to have him back, but it won't be at the expense of him being fit, healthy and ready, and compromising his long-term fitness.
You mentioned the first game of the season last year. It was Dragons' only win of the season, and probably their only win for a long time. I mean, do you look back on that game and use it as motivation? Because obviously it's a dangerous place to go if you're a bit undercooked.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place to go for many teams. The Sharks, they got away with a result there that probably was looking unlikely for a while, but to be fair, they dug one out. It's the crowd is very passionate. It's a tough pace to play, because the Dragons definitely rise to the home advantage. They really feed off the environment there. And look, they're a good side when they put their best players out there and they play to their standard. They're a very good team. And I think although they've had a long streak of a lack of wins, ours being the last one, some of their performances, and a lot of their performances, have been very strong at home, and there's been a lot of one-score games, etc. And I think you can never underestimate that. We're under no illusion of the task ahead of us. We're fighting for victories ourselves, and we haven't had as many as we would have liked in the last 5 or 6 games either. So we're pretty passionate about getting down there and fighting and showing what we're about as well. So but in terms of previous results and revenge, no, not about that. It's about our performance. We want to just make sure we hit our performance levels, and we hope the results sort of take care of themselves then.
It's a shame you won't get to see Tia. He won't have a reunion against his former side. He's back in New Zealand. Are you encouraged by the work that he's doing there? Do you think he's the right man to turn the fortunes around?
Yeah, look, I only know Philo as a man, really, and played against him and now coached against him and been away to the URC conference this year with him, and just listening to him, he's a very humble man. You can see that and you hear that his work ethic around the place. He's driving high standards and really trying to develop the mental side of the game from the Dragons' perspective, the toughness that he wants his players to display. And you can see that, in a lot of the Dragons' performances this year. They've shown in large parts of games, and particularly the Sharks game, where they had a lot of Springboks in that team, a lot of top quality URC players. They made life very, very difficult for the Sharks, and in very difficult conditions. So yeah, he's definitely leaving his imprint on the team, and we'll need to make sure that we're at our very best on the weekend.
A couple of questions on Tandy's Wales squad, if you don't mind. I mean, how delighted were you to see Morgan Morse and James Fender named in the squad?
Yeah, it's great for the two lads and their families, obviously, to be announced in a squad. It's a big achievement. There's a lot of quality players that have not made the squad here and at the other regions. So to be included is an absolute privilege. And as young men, that'll be definitely a great feather in their cap, and they'll be excited about that. But one of the things that both the guys have talked around is they want to go into that camp off the back of a good performance. And an end to our block, so that they go in there feeling good about their own personal performances, but about the team as well. So they've been quite clear about that. But yeah, we're delighted. One of the things we want to try and do at the Ospreys is obviously win as much as we can, but we take a great deal of pride in our development system. We bring players right through from the club game in the region, right through the academy into the senior team, and to pass them on for international honours and play a small role in that, I think we take a great deal of pride out of that.
A player like Morgan Morse has been mentioned in so many camps for not being included. I mean, he's had to be patient, but do you back him to really take his chance with both hands? Yeah,
I think it's just a great opportunity for Morgan. He's shown his talent. He's got a great highlights reel around the type of a game that he brings, particularly with the ball in hand. He's got some eye-catching moments in lots of different areas of the game with the ball. But I think he's spent a lot of time working on his defence, which is an area that he's trying to improve. And these things don't happen overnight. And he's around his set piece work. He's got a great work ethic. Actually, not a good work ethic. He's got a great work ethic, and the coaches here passionate about really trying to help him maximise that potential, because he's still a very young man, and we don't want him just to get a cap or to be included in a Wales squad. We want him to be a 50, 100 cap player. We want to put those foundations in with him, and we want him to be in Wales squads for many years to come. So it's great for him, and obviously great for James as well.
You mentioned there that there were some omissions, Ross Moriarty being one of them. I mean, how has he taken that?
Oh, he seems to have taken it pretty well, in terms of how he's responded internally with us. You wouldn't have known that he'd had any disappointment. I think Ross is a passionate Welshman and has played many times for Wales, and I'm sure he was, had one eye on being selected. And I think with his performances, certainly for us in the first 4 or 5 rounds, I don't think anybody could have argued with his inclusion. He's been great, brought his point of difference, played a lot of high minutes, played couple of different positions for us as well, and showed his versatility. So it's disappointing for Ross, but look, he came back to Wales and to the Ospreys to play for the Ospreys and enjoy his rugby, and he's been doing that. And look, there's another tournament coming around the corner in the Six Nations very soon, but also things can change quite quickly in the autumn internationals as well. So Ross knows the best chance he's got of fulfilling any international ambition is to keep playing well for the Ospreys, keep doing what he's doing for us, and as much as he's missing out, we love having him around for our game, and if he's around for our Edinburgh game in the last round of the autumn as well, then we'll be stronger for it.
Great. Well, I wish you luck this weekend. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that, Gary. Thank you.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
How are you? Sneaked in later, did Mark?
Just wanted to ask you a bit of how have you found this week now after having a bit of a heavy defeat in the end last weekend? What have you had to work on most?
Look, we've had a good week. It was a heavy defeat on the scoreboard, but I think the game was pretty close again. It was another one of those last 20 minutes really where we let it get away from us on the scoreboard. I think we didn't play as well as we have done in the first 3 rounds. There's no doubt about that. You can't disguise that. But I got to say, Glasgow were very, very good. They really, dominated large areas of the game, and as a result, played the game in the right area. We spent an awful lot of time in our own 22 defending, and I thought, when we were in there, we were defending mauls back to back. We had multi-phase in there, and we kept them out for long periods. But there was also, I think I mentioned after the game, there's also too many occasions where they had the speed of the ball. We couldn't get our defensive width that we would have liked, and obviously with the players like Tuipulotu, Stafford McDowell and Hastings, they pulled the trigger on those overlaps at the right time, and we ran out of defenders, and they exploited that, particularly in that sort of that middle half of the second half. They sort of opened the gap up there and took the game away from us, which was disappointing. But your answer around the week, no, it's been a good week. We've taken the learnings. There were some things there that we knew we didn't get right, and actually, today and on Tuesday, we've actioned those learnings very well in training, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to be an improved outfit this week.
Do you feel like a defeat like that kind of almost kind of kick-starts your season sometimes, if you can really kind of pick up, like you say, the learnings from it? Yeah,
I don't think our season needed kick-starting. I think we've played very well in all our games, probably apart from this one consistently. I think we've shown that for 60 to 70 minutes in the last 3 games we've been pretty good. We've had patches where the opposition in South Africa in particular, where they got hold of us and exploited us for 10-15 minutes. But I think in large part the performances have been really good. Like I said earlier, we've played 3 out of last year's top 4 in the first 4 rounds. The Bulls, Stormers and Glasgow are consistent top 4 teams over the last few years. So we know that playing against those teams away from home, in particular with the South African teams, is no mean feat. But I thought we equipped ourselves really well. We should take a lot of confidence from that. And obviously we put Zebra away, who had made life awkward for Edinburgh and the Lions as well in their home performances. So I think it's been a positive block, but it will look a lot better if we're able to get a result in this game for sure.
And I think players have stepped up as well. You've lost a lot of experience in the camp, and for example, Rhys Davis has been tremendous. One of the top tacklers in URC. How good's he been, do you think?
Yeah, no, he's been very good, Rhys. Rhys had a lot of injury trouble last year, and we were desperate to try and get him back out there, but unfortunately he just picked up another niggle on the back of another niggle, and some of those injuries, well, actually the initial ones were quite nasty, so it was off the back of an operation, but then he couldn't quite get his body in a place where it would consistently perform for him. So we took quite a bit of learning out of that from last year, and the way we've tried to reintegrate him into the team this year has been on a steady basis, an incremental basis, where we've tried to build his capacity over some substitutions, 1 or 2 starts, so that hopefully, like you saw on the weekend, he went big minutes for us against Glasgow, against a very physical team, and as a result he's come through the game, and we're able to keep him fit and healthy for future selections, which is important. We have mixed our front 5 up a little bit because we've tried to bring energy but also tried to protect a few boys as well around coming back from injury and making sure we don't break them for what is a very long season.
And that power aspect within the pack sometimes has not been at its best this season, which is one of Ospreys' main strengths over the last couple of years. Why do you think that's been? Well,
I think it's who we've played, if I'm honest with you, and probably with the teams we've started the games with, I think we've been very competitive. But I think what's happened is, because of the amount of injuries we've got to our experienced players up front, then perhaps we haven't been able to see it through for the full 80 minutes. And that's not to say that the guys have come in have been poor. We haven't got a time machine. These younger players need time to come up to speed. And if you look at somebody like Tom Florence and Phil Cockiner-Singer, they played very low minutes for us last year, and they've gone up against some of the best midfields in the league in the start of the year, and they've done their absolute best to put in the best possible performances they can. So it's been tough, and like same with our back row, we've been low on numbers in our back row through various reasons, and the boys that have played have put a mental shift in. They've worked really, really hard. They've had to go big minutes, and Deevesy was creaking a bit last week, and his calf was playing up a little bit, so we didn't want to take a risk with him. We wanted to make sure we didn't break him, and so we've had to rotate a little bit in some positions, and I think that's probably cost us a little bit, maybe around some consistency. But our set piece has been very good as well. There's been times like you saw against Zebra's got a very good set piece, and we had complete domination there, which is like not many teams can say that. So yeah, it's hopefully the results haven't been quite what we'd like. We'd have liked to have had another win or two, but sometimes you've got to look at who we've played, where we've played them, and who we've had available, and bring some context to it.
Longer term, you did mention Morgan Morris earlier on. Well, how is he getting on with his rehabilitation?
Oh, he's going well. He's coming back well, and he had a nasty little, sort of a re-niggle of his calf. Initially, it was a foot injury that he had an operation on, but he just damaged the calf in some of his rehab running on the way back, and that's bothered him a little bit. So what we've tried to do is just not rush him, try to make sure we get him right, and we'll see him in the next block for sure. It's just a case of whereabouts in that block he comes back into contention, because obviously once he gets back fit and training, there's going to need to be a couple of weeks of reintegration where he gets his volume up, and we make sure he's safe to actually take the field.
And Owen Watkin the same? Yeah,
same thing. He'd be roughly back around about the same time as Morgan, so all being well. But he's coming along nicely. He had to have a little another mini operation just to tidy up a little bit of a problem that was in his knee. But obviously, because there was a little bit of swelling, but that seems to have worked a treat. And now it's just a case of getting him back, ready to go now, and building up the strength in the knee and his capacity work.
Well, fingers crossed you can get more bodies on the pitch soon. But yeah, good luck for the weekend this week.
Yeah, thanks. It's part of the game, but like you say, it creates another opportunity for another player.